Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to podcast number 360. I've got Mr. Montero here, and we've got Effie and Liam again. Say hi, kiddos.
Hi. Hey.
And do you want to tell everybody how good of a dad I am?
You're a good dad.
That's awesome. Effie, I'm just kidding. All right, everybody. We're going to talk today about feedback for improvement. Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. We got Mr. Montero and me here. We're going to talk about feedback for improvement. Excuse me for a little bit. My voice is going a little bit. We maybe overdid it yesterday in a boot camp for foremen. And so I hope that the audio quality ends up being okay. But what we want to talk about, and this will be brief, but what we want to talk about is the concept of negative versus feedback for improvement. Negative feedback versus feedback for improvement. Mr. Montero, why? I'm calling you by your last name like we are in boot camp. Exactly. So can you help us kick us off here?
Sure. Just to add a couple clarifying words, you'll often hear the word criticism. And rather than thinking about criticism or the root word of critical, it's feedback for improvement. So looking for feedback that allows someone to grow or give someone a directive where they can change something to have success in the future. Not just necessarily, hey, this is bad, but, well, what is good? What would be the right course? What would be the direction to go instead of just, this is what you're doing wrong.
I like that. And we hear a lot, hey, this is criticism. Hey, this is negative feedback. And I personally, unless somebody was attempting to hurt me, I don't know of any negative feedback. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'd like to know what you think about this and I think it immediately goes to the concept of when we were kids or in high school or in other situations where we took feedback as being negative. It's this chopping and nipping and correcting and sculpting and hitting the rough parts of the stone off, like just really hard process. However, if we continue to look at it like that in companies and in our careers, then we lose the life-changing magic of the improvement that can come from receiving feedback. And I think we need to change our paradigms. And so I'd love to know, what are some thoughts that you have for us and for anybody listening where we can really just change the way we look at things? Like, what would be your recommendation, your coaching for us on this?
Well, for a person who is receiving that feedback, rather than thinking that everything that you hear has to be taken to heart as a description of what you are, I like to think of it as someone is describing to me the outside experience that people other than me might have with me. And what I mean by that is sometimes there's something that I intend or an experience that I intend that other people are having, but that doesn't mean that it's the experience that they're having with me. And so when somebody communicates and says, oh, I noticed this about your personality, or I noticed this about your actions, that's the experience that they're having with me. It's not a reflection on what I intend necessarily, but it helps me understand how it's coming across to other people. So I like to look at it as an outside view or a snapshot of how someone outside of me might view my actions or my attitude.
And we do have to disconnect the shaming of this is who I am as defining me versus these are my actions and I'm inherently a good person, but these actions may or may not be suiting me well. It's interesting when excuse me, when Brandon and I do a certain processes in boot camps, we actually encourage feedback for improvement and positive feedback. And it's interesting. It's very, very difficult for 80 to 90% of the people to provide either positive or, well, even if I say the word positive feedback, well, we'll do, what would I call, I'm even tying into the cliche by saying positive, but feedback for improvement or feedback of appreciation, maybe would be a way to say it. We have people do that in an active setting and get practice with it, and 80 to 90% of the people are very, very uncomfortable. And Brandon will also ask the question, how many of you actually hated or disliked or felt uncomfortable receiving the feedback for improvement and nobody's hands raised? And it really comes down to the fact in my mind, and I'd like to know your thoughts with it as well, Brandon, is that the feedback is viewed as a gift. It is welcomed. It is something that people want. But some people haven't received feedback in 1 or 5 or 17 or 30 years because nobody will give it to them, but they want it. And there's a disparity between how many people will provide, feedback of appreciation or feedback for improvement versus those who want it. Have you seen that in other areas as well, Brandon? Meaning, like, you would agree with the pattern, right?
Oh, definitely. And, it really comes down to we have a fear that someone will, take offense with what it is that we have to say or, want to argue their way out of it. And maybe we have a fear of defending our opinion in a particular matter as well. But if the feedback is truly delivered in a way that it does offer something constructive, or it does offer a directive that might allow somebody to grow, it makes the context that much easier to swallow for the person who's receiving it. And oftentimes we don't necessarily have to worry about how it's going to land. It'll land in a way that's constructive if the intent behind it is constructive.
I really agree. And so I think we should give a couple of tips here this morning for providing feedback. One of the things that Brandon and I feel really strongly about is the compliment sandwich, meaning we've heard, hey, compliment somebody and then criticize them. I'm not saying we don't criticize them. We provide feedback for improvement, but compliment, criticize, compliment. And I feel like that's playing into the whole feedback is negative concept, in the sense that, if you sandwich it, you're dampening the blow. Well, what blow? Like what? Why is there a blow? There shouldn't be a blow. Feedback isn't negative. It's not criticism, So why would we have to sandwich it? It needs to be direct, and we're saying it from the first place because we respect people. And that's one of the things that throws me a little bit. I don't think we fully understand this concept of respect for people, because if we did, we would know that if we really respected somebody, we have high expectations and that we'll provide that feedback for improvement and that it's a gift. And we also would know on the other end that to give feedback can be somewhat difficult, and to even do so is an act of love. And so I personally don't love the concept of a what do they call that? The compliment sandwich. I think that we need to get really, really good at knowing what feedback is for, get good at having it be palatable and direct, and getting it to be communicated with the sincerity and love that we mean it. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, just that when you are giving feedback, usually it's worth someone's attention. And so when you water it down with a compliment first, it kind of takes the acuteness or the point off of what it is that you're delivering. But then what does it do for the compliment? Either, oh, wait, I'm being complimented. Oh, no, actually, there's, something else following behind it. It takes that sincerity away. And it really brings your sincerity in general into question. Yeah, I only get compliments when something else is coming right behind it. So it's really something we want to shy away from. Now, I'm not saying you should shy away from compliments. Specifically, you should give compliments when they're due, and you should be a person who's easy to commend someone when they're going in the right direction to keep them moving in that direction. But that also is something that should be delivered on its own. When you deliver it on its own, it'll have more weight, it'll have more impact, and there will be no reason to question the sincerity behind your words.
If I had a boss that was always compliment sandwiching me, every time they said something nice, I'd be like, okay, when's the shoe gonna drop? Where's the next part? I'd get like accustomed to that and get programmed to, okay, every time they say something, something's behind there, right? And I just don't think it's necessary because, again, feedback, that means we care about somebody's career, their progress, we care about their development. The other thing is great leaders, or actually to even be a leader, you have to build the team first, have hard conversations, provide feedback for improvement, and manage, coach, and mentor direct reports, hold remarkable meetings, and scale communication. So if we're in any leadership position anywhere and we have direct reports, that's a part of our job. Like, we get to do that. It's interesting when we do these feedback exercises, and there's a number of them that we have in the arsenal of teaching and coaching and mentoring, that people squirm, and literally you can sit next to them while they're attempting to do this, and I say attempting intentionally, and they're kind of squirming and giggling and just doing anything they can to get away from giving a feedback for improvement. And also, they'll inherently go into this compliment mode, or they'll criticize, the criticize word, they'll attempt to criticize themselves instead of providing feedback. Like, human beings will just do anything to get out of it. And Brandon and I literally have to stand there and coach people. No, this is how you get it. No, this is how you get it. And give it and give it and give it. And I just feel like if we really had the proper understanding of how welcomed and wonderful and needed feedback for improvement is, we just get out of that. So my closing suggestion is that we need to really get our minds wrapped around this and practice as much as we can with this. That's the clinical psychological answers, to practice with this as much as we can. Make sure you're talking about their actions. Make sure that you're giving suggestions for a path forward. Make sure that it is direct and that it's communicated with love. The words that you use, that false compliment doesn't matter. You can say what you need to say as long as they can see on your face and know from your actions that you care about them, and you're simply providing that coaching for them to live a happier and more remarkable life. What last thoughts or counsel would you give us, Brandon?
Just in that same direction of intent, when we're choosing the words so that they aren't misconstrued as some type of a criticism, make sure that intent is truly there for how are we going to build someone up, and what exactly am I telling them or teaching them right now so that they can have success in the future. I know you said that there's not necessarily any negatives as long as it's constructive, but there are negative words out there. There are words that might make somebody, feel bad and not necessarily want to continue in their path. So make sure that the words that we're choosing are words that are meant to build, direct, and admonish someone in the right direction.
I really love that. And everybody, please forgive us. We're driving. We have a pretty rough schedule the next couple of days with boot camp. And so I hope you don't mind the car noises in the background. Tomorrow we'll be back to a normal schedule, and we'll be able to give you some really good content. Stay with us. We appreciate you. And then everybody, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, on we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.